Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio, with us on 93.5, 1590 WAKR, brought to you by J.W. Donato Electric. What was this week back in history, back into the 1940s, I think it was 1946, that Bill Veeck purchased the Cleveland Indians for $2.2 million. In today's world, that's a utility infielder. But he bought the Indians for $2.2 million. And I thought I would bring Bobby in to start right there with him being an historian of this franchise and baseball in general. Bobby, what about the Bill Veeck era of Cleveland baseball?
One of the great names in baseball history for sure, Ray. There's two books. People want to learn more about Bill Veeck. His book called Veeck as in wreck. It's a really fun book to read. And then we've talked about it before a number of times. One of the great baseball books that I've ever read, recently put out by Luke Epplin, called Our Team. It deals with Bill Veeck and Bob Feller, Larry Doby, Satchel Paige, America coming out of World War II. How does it deal with all the players who served in the war and come back, and are there jobs available for them in baseball in the major and minor leagues? How integration was such a vital part of the growth of our society and Major League Baseball, and how Bill Veeck played an incredible role in the integration of Major League Baseball. One of the things I learned about him in reading Our Team was that he was trying to purchase the Philadelphia franchise, the Phillies. And word got out that he was a proponent of integration, that there was a thought that if he gets to Philadelphia, that he's going to integrate that baseball team. And the owners rallied around and said, no, we're not selling to him. We are not selling to him if that's one of his goals of owning a Major League Baseball team. And it always interests me as to why the city of Cleveland, Northeast Ohio, was at the forefront of integration with Bill Veeck. It's the 75th anniversary of Larry Doby breaking the color barrier in the American League, and of course Jackie Robinson in the National League in April of 47, Jackie in July of 47, or Larry in July of 47. Why we were the first to have an African-American manager in the history of baseball, the first Black mayor of an urban center in America. What was it about our town? So Bill Veeck, when you talk about how did he change the game of baseball? Well, integration was number one. And I think secondly to that, fun. I think all the promotions, the fireworks and the promotions that he brought to the game, just to have people have a tremendously entertaining, fun time at the ballpark, we owe all that to him.
Yeah, I agree. He did make it fun. Bill Veeck, again, purchased the Cleveland team this week back in 1946. Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio, with us again. Bobby, let's talk about this team. Youngest team in the American League. Man, they go for it every night. They bring it. They're playing well. 15 of 19. Big stretch for them. You watch every inning of this baseball team just like I do. Talk about what stands out to you about this young baseball team that's kind of made them click in the last 4 weeks.
Well, the message that Tito and his coaching staff gave the ball club in spring training was to push hard, to take the extra base, put the bat on the ball. It's going to be a brand of baseball that is going to maybe be hard to play every day, every inning, 162 games. But that's what we have to do, which is why Tito mixes and matches the lineup to keep guys fresh. People wonder, well, how come so-and-so isn't getting every at-bat every game? Well, the style of our play, you need guys to take a breather once in a while, and you can't wait 20 days for an off day for that to happen. Just the fact that these young guys put the bat on the ball, and when they put it in play, they're very aggressive on the base paths. We're one of the top 10 run scored teams, and we're not a home run hitting team. We steal bases. We strike out the fewest times. I think that's one of the most remarkable. There was a stat earlier in the year that Jose Ramirez had more home runs than strikeouts. I mean, to me, that's just a remarkable statistic in today's game. But we strike out either the fewest or second fewest in all of baseball right now. And so we're a disciplined, aggressive, fun team to watch. Tito's really got these guys focused. Sorry about that. Dean Martin always chimes in every once in a while.
Couple of Italian guys playing baseball, right?
Yeah, exactly. The one thing that when we talk about this baseball team, I like to remind people that over the 40 years, there's one thing that I have found so incredibly fun and special, and that is the idea that when young players play together in the minor leagues, they ride buses together, they go to the fast food restaurants together, things of that. They create this bond. And then when they start to play together in the big leagues and have some success, I don't know if there's anything more special than that for a baseball player.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, I think a collective, when you look at this team and the way they've gotten rolling recently, remember, very limited spring training, right, Bobby? It was cut short. And with the pitchers, that starting staff got off to a little bit of a rough start, March, April. But boy, since they got, quote, their spring training under their belt, the McKenzies and the Quantrells and the Biebers and the Plesacks gotten their act together. We've gotten hot as that starting rotation, Bobby, has gotten hot.
Absolutely. We're built on pitching. Don't forget the name Emmanuel Clase, 15 to 17 in save situations of all the closers in the game. He's got the lowest ERA. Just to be able to give him the ball in that situation, and the way Eli Morgan has shown himself to be such a vital piece to late inning games and multi-inning opportunities to help our starting rotation as they get into form. Again, we're a team where every guy on that team has to do their role, do their part. And I think they all love that fact that everybody, when they get to the ballpark that day, knows that they have a chance to impact the game because there's a certain role that's been identified for them. They're not a scrub. They're not just a bench player. They have an impact on wins and losses. And, that gets you energized to come to the ballpark every day.
Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio. Hey, Bobby, brought to you by JW Donato Electric. The other thing I just wanted to talk about today, because you've been there for so long, looking at the personnel and the positions. We talked about third base about a month, 6 weeks ago on the show, Bobby. I started to be thinking over the weekend, because Owen Miller's getting a lot of innings at first base, and then there's some other guys in there as well. I started to go back in time with maybe some of the greatest first basemen that we've had in Cleveland baseball history. A couple of the names that popped up to me: Jim Thome, once he made the move from third to first base. You could also look at Travis Hafner, Eddie Murray. I even thought of Grover. Mike Hargrove played a nice first base for us. You've seen all these guys and more, though. What would you circle maybe the top 3, 4 first basemen, Cleveland Indians / Guardians history, my friend?
Yes, I like the guys that you identified. Carlos Santana needs to be thrown into there. Luke Easter needs to be thrown in. I think Paul Sorrento, for the brief period that he was in there, adding home runs. Our kids and my nieces and nephews created the nickname Over the Wall Paul when he was hitting all of his home runs at first base. I just love that guy. He's such an awesome guy at first base for us. But let's talk about a little bit of history. George Burns. You may not know him, but he was part of the 1920 World Series team, and in 1926 he was the very first MVP of the league for the Cleveland franchise. And I think he needs to be brought out in any discussion. Then, of course, Hal Trotsky, the great Hal Trotsky. I mean, here's a guy in 1936, I believe it was, hit 343, had 42 homers, 162 RBIs. First guy to hit over 40 homers in Cleveland franchise history. He did that again in 1936, and it wasn't until 1953 that Al Rosen hit more than 42. And that was the year that Al Rosen won the American League MVP, missed the Triple Crown by 1/100th of a point in his batting average. His RBIs, Hal Trotsky's 162 ribbies, lasted till 1999. Believe it or not, he did it in 36. It lasted until 1999 when Manny Ramirez had 165 RBI. So unfortunately, for Hal Trotsky, his career ended cut short by migraine headaches. He just couldn't see the baseball and be able to stand on a baseball field and move around. And so that was a sad ending to what would have been a Hall of Fame career for sure. And then, of course, Jim Thome. I mean, you mentioned it, but I think if you look at our franchise history at first base, he's our all-time home run leader. He's in the top 10 in most every significant offensive category that you can pick. A first ballot Hall of Famer, over 600 plus home runs in his career with us and others. So I think when you think about it, Jimmy and Hal Trotsky probably are the premier guys. But before we go, I just want to add one more fun story about Bill Veeck. And I think you know Jim Folk, who's our vice president of ballpark operations, came to us the last year or so of Cleveland Stadium and helped guide us into Progressive Field and, lived the construction of that ballpark for us. But he worked for the Chicago White Sox, not right before us, because he was in charge of helping build the Suncoast Dome, now Tropicana Field in St. Pete. But he worked for the White Sox and got to know Bill Veeck. And he tells the story, Bill Veeck lost his leg in World War II. A artillery piece recoiled and crushed his leg, and they had to amputate his foot and then above his knee. And he had a wood leg, and he liked to smoke cigarettes a lot. And so Jim tells the story of how he drove him home one night, and he crossed his legs, put his right leg over his left leg. The right leg was crushed, and he rolls up his pants, and in the wood leg, he had an indentation where he would put the ashes of his cigarettes. Jim opened up the ashtray of his car and said, "Here, boss, you could use this." He goes, "Nope, I have my own," and put his leg over the other leg, rolled up the pants, had the indentation, and just put the ashes and the indentation in his wood leg. I just, the guy was just all about fun. And, he was the first guy. I mean, he did ladies' days. He did, bring your kids to the ballpark, and we'll have kids land area for you where you can drop your kids off, go have some fun, and we'll watch them. They had nurses and others watching the kids, way ahead of his time.
I imagine a lot of his creativity is still used today in a lot of the ballparks from coast to coast. There you go. Another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio. And of course, the Guardians, don't forget, back home this weekend against the Boston Red Sox, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then next week, the Minnesota Twins. Bobby, my friend, will reconvene next week for more talk on our red hot Cleveland Guardians. Thank you for the time, Bobby.
Thank you, Ray. At CleGuardians.com is the place to go. Go Guards.